Hi guys, welcome to PED214. Happy February. And for the ones that don't know me, my name is Andreas Tamaris. I'm going to be the instructor of this course for spring 2021. And today, I'm going to start with my first video. Side note, every Monday, I'm going to be sending you videos that are going to include feedback about whatever we have to submit. I'm going to lecture whatever we need to cover that week and also remind you what we have for that week. So now we're in week 1, so you haven't submitted anything. We just started, so there's no feedback. However, I'm going to go over the syllabus, and that's very, very, very important. I want to make sure everybody understands what we're expecting from each other. And then I'm going to cover chapter 1. I don't think I'm going to start chapter 2. I wanted to, but let's keep it simple and not too much for the very first week. In general, I want to say that the framework of this online class is you have to submit whatever you have to submit by Sunday midnight. So every Sunday, you have to submit something, all right, by Sunday. And on Monday, you will be expecting videos from me, again, including feedback, chapters for that week, and what we need to submit for the following Sunday. So that's going to be the general framework. One more thing that it's important is that every Tuesday from 8 to 12:30, I'm going to be holding virtual office hours. There's a waiting room. So if I'm talking with somebody else and you log on, just wait until I let you in, okay? And also, we're going to be having some synchronous meetings. I don't have to hold synchronous meetings. I do that because I believe that it helps with creating a community. You can see my face. I can see your face in actual time and communicate and visit. You can ask me questions. I can ask you questions. Anything, right? And also during those synchronous meetings that, again, they are non-mandatory, you can get some extra credit, right? Who doesn't like extra credit? So that's the general description of how we're going to go from now on. It's 15 weeks. This is week 1. No spring break this time. So for today specifically, again, I'm gonna, right after this, I'm gonna share my screen and go over the syllabus. And then I'm gonna go over our Moodle site, explain a little bit how it is designed and where you can find what. And then I'm gonna cover chapter 1 from GETP, the Guidelines for Exercise Testing a Prescription, 10th edition. All right, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and right here. Okay, I hope you can see it, right? Again, virtual office hours every Tuesday starting tomorrow from 8 to 12:30 for 4.5 hours. I'm going to be online waiting for you if you want to visit. There's no synchronous Zoom mandatory meeting at any point for this class, right? Excuse me. So this is the description of the course that you can read by yourself. Anyway, this is a continuation of PED212, right? So you already have a basic knowledge. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper. I have already warned you that this is a class with a lot of terminology. We're going to go deeper in some issues. And I want you to hang in there. We're going to go slowly, but you have to study by yourselves a lot, and you have to look up terms, and everybody starts from knowing nothing, right? So start start going over those terms and again, we need that knowledge of that terminology. Okay? So there are 12 chapters in this book, and we're going to go slowly. However, in this course, we're doing two things, right? We are doing some kind of revision, okay? No revision, review, that's what I meant, for whatever we did in PED212. So some of the learning opportunities are going to be about that. So you have to go back and review the material by yourselves. At the same time, I'm teaching the new material for PED214 using the other book. So in general, what I'm trying to say is there are learning opportunities for the book we have already covered in PED212, the Resources for Personal Training, the 5th edition. And then there are going to be learning opportunities that you're going to have after I cover each chapter that have to do with the GTP 10th edition, which is the book, the smaller book, but it's our main resource for this class. Taken together, PED212 and PED214, along with a review, that's another course, that's another book we're going to talk about. They're going to help you, prepare you for the ACSM personal training certification. Okay, so that's the point of this course. You can read down here that this is the prereq, right, the PED212. I received a couple of questions about the textbooks. I have shared the syllabus 3 weeks now. Right? Okay, so I shared it 3 weeks ago and then a week ago with the new dates. Yeah, that was fun. Pushing the semester 1 week later. Anyway, so the very first book, you already have it from PED212. It's all, everything is there. Then we have the GTP 10th edition, which is the main resource for this course. And then we'll have the certification review, the 5th edition. Okay? The 5th edition of the certification review, we're going to mainly use it for review and for one of the only group activity that you have. Okay? Now, a lot of people ask me, what is the PrepU? PrepU is a kind of software. It's an interactive tool, especially for the people who are going to take the exam. So you can start taking the exam using PrepU, and let's say you miss more questions that have to do with the business part of the certification, it will start generating more questions from that specific topic. So you get better in whatever is your weakest point, okay? So I'm suggesting this because it's been pretty helpful to peers of yours. So they've been telling me that they like it and it's been helpful towards taking the exam. So that's something, a tool specifically for those who will take the exam. So again, the very first book, you have it from PED212. The next two books are the resources for this class, and the fourth one, the PrepU, is something to help you with the exam, the ACSM exam specifically. Okay, I don't really require textbooks, if you know, right? But for this course and for this exam, you need the material. If you study the material, the exam is going to be easy. Okay, so you need the material. There's no way for me to cover everything. I'll try. These are the course objectives. You carry them by yourselves. I don't want to go over all these details, but you can see that it starts with provide current information on the benefits and risk of physical activity and or exercise, which is actually what we're covering today, all the way down to number 12, which is to review material from PED212 and get ready for the ACSM personal training certification exam. Right? Now, course grading, the total, the maximum points you can get is 1,000. And there are 3 subcategories: learning opportunities, the PDO, and the FLO. You know that I call them learning opportunities. I don't call them quizzes because I think quiz is a little bit more of a toxic word. And at the same time, I think that these are opportunities for you to learn, okay? So you will have plenty of them, 34 to be exact. Each one of them has 25 questions or items, so you can get up to 25 points per LO. So if you multiply 34 times 25, maximum is 850, right? You have one PDO, professional development opportunity, which is your group project, which has to do with the book that's called Certification Review, 5th edition. Okay, the third one, we just covered the third one, the ones that we just talked about. And you get 50 points. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit in more detail. You have already received an email with the groups. So I did that randomly. Okay, we have 6 case studies, so we have 6 groups. Okay, mainly out of 5, and 2 of those 6 group members. And then the FLO is an individual project, and I'm going to explain what it is. You can get up to 100 points. So if you put all of these together, if you add them up, the maximum you can get for this course is 1,000 points. Now, I always give you the letters and the percentages and the points so you know where you stand. Okay. Now, I always encourage you to participate, right? We're going to have, again, some synchronous, non-mandatory. I'm saying again, non-mandatory synchronous meetings. Please participate. Participate through the forum, emails, whatever. It's an online class. We're not meeting in the classroom. So these are the ways for you to communicate with me and to participate. I'm a strong believer that I can learn from your experiences as well. So please share, your peers can learn, I can learn. Please feel free. Let's break down the 3 subcategories of projects you have. 1, learning opportunities. As I said before, although each one of those learning opportunities have 25 items or questions, there are 2 types of them. 22 are from the book we covered in PED214, the ACSM's resources for the personal training. And 12 of them are for the 12 chapters that we're going to cover this semester, which is the GTP, the 10th edition. So 12, right, plus 22, 34. Now, everything is open. You know me, I open everything, and I'm trying to be pretty organized and proactive. So everything is open, everything is active. And one of the main reasons I'm doing that is I don't want you to feel like I'm surprising you out anyway, but also if you want to work at a faster pace. So let's say this Sunday you have 2 things to submit, but next week you know you have a trip somewhere, so you don't have a lot of time, but this week you do, and you want to submit this week's assignments and next week's, you can do it. So you can work faster, so you can submit earlier if you want. Of course, you cannot submit after the links are closed, okay? So check the deadlines. Now, the second thing is the PDO. The PDO, as I said, has to do with, it's a group project. I've already posted your groups, random assignment. And there are 6 case studies in the 5th edition of the certification review. Again, I send you with 1 randomly. Now, I'm explaining exactly what you have to do, and I'm giving you a lot of information on our Moodle side of how you have to do it. So, as you can see, it says the groups in the assigned case studies will be determined by the instructor during the first week, which I already did. Groups need to send their instructor a video, like the one I'm doing right now, where you share your slideshow, which I'm going to do in a little bit when I'm going to go over chapter 1. Right? So you have to create a slideshow, and then do it like this as a Zoom link, and then you send me the link. And also the second thing you have to submit is a handout. Okay, and you know me, the handout has to have, of course, it's 1 sheet. The first page, take home points. Second page, just your resource, which is a book, and the reference has to be in an APA format. That's it. So you create your PowerPoint slideshow. We're going to go over this again as we're going closer to the date of this, but I'm just giving you a general description. PowerPoint slideshow, you're 5 or 6 people in the group. I want you also to know that in the book, you can find the answers as well. So there's a case study with the answers. What I want you to do is own it and explain why for question A, the correct answer is B and not A, C, or D. Okay, I want you to tell me the whys and own it. So again, 7 people, 5 or 6 people in the group, plenty of people there to do 2 or 3 slides each. So that's pretty much it, okay? That's your PDO. And the final thing that you are going to get graded on is the final learning opportunity, individual assignment. Hopefully you can visit a fitness health club by the end of this semester. You shadow a trainer, you give the trainer a questionnaire. There's another questionnaire that, another form that you are filling out, and you're submitting both. So you have the evaluation of PT sessions, that's already on our Moodle site. You have the questionnaire for the trainer. So you use both of those and you compare in a way what they're doing with what we say that's the best way to do things, best practices, and then you give me a report. Again, I'm going to go over this as we're going towards the end of the semester, and we have a lot of synchronous meetings in office hours that we can visit and talk in more detail. Okay, 3 things: LOs, PDO, FLO. All right, extra credit. So I'm going to give extra credit, and I'm always starting with this extra credit opportunity, which is you submit that you have read and then you have understood the syllabus. 10 points for you. Okay. When is it due? On Sunday midnight. As I said, everything is due on Sundays. Okay, or almost everything, 99%, except for maybe the final project, which falls into finals week. So we'll talk about that later on. All right. So here we have the very first opportunity for extra credit. Other opportunities of extra credit is definitely the synchronous meetings. We're going to have 6 synchronous meetings, almost one every 3 to 4 weeks. I'm going to let you know about those in a little bit. You get 10 points if you log on and visit. Again, non-mandatory. Non-mandatory. They're just extra that I'm doing for you. I hope that, I don't know, if they give me the feeling that, and based on your feedback, that you get a lot out of those synchronous meetings. Okay, even if this is supposed to be a strictly online course, academic and asynchronous. I've talked about scholastic honesty and dishonesty. Whatever you submit, please use your own words. I have plagiarism software that can show me right away if you have copied and pasted from somebody else or yourselves. What I mean is, do not submit the same thing that you submitted to somebody else, because if it was uploaded, I'll know. Okay? Don't put me in an awkward position. Let me repeat myself. Do not put me in an awkward position. I'm going to help you. Afraid you have to help yourselves. This is supposed to be an environment, a non-toxic environment that helps you learn and evolve. Okay? Don't focus on the grades that much that you do mistakes like this. Please. It's an online course. All right. So when we talk about preparation, you have to check your email. You have to check your Moodle site. You have to watch those videos. If you don't watch the videos, and you see that post that I do on the forum, it comes to you as a notification in your email, and you delete it, that's your right, and it's fine if you don't want to. If you want to delete my email. I want to tell you, though, that when I'm emailing you, and I know you're receiving a ton of emails, I have something important to share. So if you don't watch my videos, if you don't read my emails, I don't know how else to communicate. Okay, and you know what? A lot of times what happens? When I'm emailing you and I'm trying to find you, sometimes it's very hard, but when the students email me, they expect me to reply in 5 minutes. Okay, and hopefully you know that I'm trying to be very good with my how fast I'm responding. and I'm just expecting the same from you. There's no other way. We're not meeting in the actual classroom. Okay? So check Moodle, check your email, please, and participate in office hours if you can and want, in synchronous meeting. Okay? If you have any special needs, let me know. But the way I design class, if you need more time, you have all the time because everything is open since midnight today. Okay? So let me know if you need something else. But if time-wise, you have a lot of time because everything is open and active. If something changes, I will let you know, and it will always be for your benefit. And as we go here, I've tried to group them by week. So for this week, I'm doing the course introduction. Okay, so, excuse me, I'm going over the syllabus, and then I'm going to go over chapter 1. I'm not going to start chapter 2 next week. I'll do a little bit more, but I'm not going to push it this week, right? And you see how we go all the way down to week 15. Down here, week 12, we'll start with a presentation of the case studies, so we'll have a lot of time to talk about them. We're going to start with groups 1 and 2. Since they're starting first, I'm going to be a little bit more lenient, okay? When I'm grading them, and the rubric for grading them, that's online too. It's the same rubric I use in most of my classes. And then group 13, we have the rest 4 of the groups. And then, as you can see in week 14, there is a review mock exam. I'm going to give you an exam that you can take by yourself. I'm going to give you the key. I'm not grading you. You're grading yourself. That's for you to test a little bit your level of knowledge as you're getting closer to actually take the exam, the actual exam if you want to take it. And then I'm going to give you one more day off. Like, well, there's nothing else on week 14th because I am assuming you go somewhere to shadow a trainer. So that week, we don't have to submit anything as we're getting ready for week 15, right? Which is the finals week, and that's where we're gonna submit our FLO, which is the report, okay? If you have any questions, I know there's a lot of information for one sitting, but if you have any information, any questions, just shoot me an email tomorrow office hours or during the synchronous meetings. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to start sharing our Moodle site, which is, yeah, should be this one. Yeah, there we go. So here, as you can see, we have our syllabus up here, my teaching philosophy, some things that we need for the PDO as this, which is the rubric, and links, how to create a Zoom video. I put that up here in case you don't know how. And these are for the FLO, the 2 questionnaires that we said, one for the trainer and one for you. But we'll have plenty of time to talk about this. In general, the design of the site is my classic design, which is per week. You see week number 1. So this is something you have to submit, ECLO, this Sunday, right? And you have 6 days and 10 more hours to tell me that you have read and you have understood the syllabus. And one more thing you have to submit until this Sunday is LO1. Okay, you have only 1 attempt, and you close again Sunday at midnight. And that's for the very first chapter of the book that we already covered in PED214. Okay, I sent you the syllabus 3 weeks ago, so hopefully you have the books by now. You should have. There's no excuse for you not having the books. Okay. This book, actually, you should have it from last year. All right, so that's how it looks like. And here, if you go to our news forum, I have already posted the groups and the case studies per group. So group number 1, for example, is right here, 6 people. And they have case studies CPT 1 from Certification Review, the 5th edition, which is our 3rd book in that list. Okay, I have another 6-member group, and the rest 4 are with 5 members. Okay, random assignment and random assignment of the case studies. These case studies are in the book. The answers are in the book. We're going to talk about that again. but I just want you to know for that from the beginning of the semester, you know your group and you know your assignment, like case study, and you know when you're presenting because that's in the syllabus. Okay, so no any kind of surprise here. Everything is predetermined. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this now, and if we're good to go, I'm gonna go over our first chapter. Hopefully. There we go. So this chapter is a very basic chapter, and we are going to go over, as you can see, the benefits and the risks with physical activity. We're going to explain what's the difference between PA, physical activity and exercise, what's physical fitness, the components, risks during tests, intensity and risks, the dose-response relationship, the basic guidelines, the minimum guidelines for physical activity that ACSM and American Heart Association are recommending. Pretty important stuff, very basic, and this chapter is a cornerstone of the whole course. So not very complicated, but this is important information that if you don't know already or if you don't remember, please make sure you go over the material, you study the material, and you customize. All right, let's see if this works. All right. First of all, very, very important. What's the difference between physical activity and exercise, right? And I always ask in class, is physical activity type of exercise or exercise a type of physical activity? Which one is the bigger term? So as you can see, exercise is a type of PA. You see that PA is any bodily movement that you will just burn some calories. Cool. What's going on with exercise, though, right? You see here that it has to be planned and structured and repetitive. And it has to have a goal, which is what? To improve or maintain one or more components of physical fitness. And we're going to talk about physical fitness in a little bit, but planned, structured, and repetitive. So, again, if you park your car, if it happened and once you park your car really far away from the classroom and you walk and then you walk back, would that be PA or exercise? If it's random, it just so happened one day, that's PA. If, though, you do it on purpose, you park your car half a mile away, so intentionally you're trying to increase the number of steps you take every day, and that's one way to do it. So you walk half a mile to class, and intentionally you take the stairs, and then intentionally you take the stairs back down and going back to your car, so as to reach the point of, well, I don't know what number, 10,000 steps, 7,000 steps per day, and you have a goal, the same activity, right? Based on why you do it and how you do it, and that if it's planned, structured, and repetitive, it can be grouped differently. So physical activity, it can be pretty much anything. Exercise is a specific type of PA. Exercise is PA. PA is not always exercise. Now, in the definition of exercise, we mentioned physical fitness. What is physical fitness? This is pretty cool definition that I want you to remember. Ability to carry out daily tasks with vigor and alertness, without undue fatigue, and with ample energy to enjoy leisure time pursuits and meet unforeseen emergencies. That's the physical fitness. Now, why do we care about that? Well, the next table is going to break down physical fitness in two groups, two types of components. And then it's important for us as trainers, as coaches, or as anybody in the exercise science field. So here, and this is very important, you see two types of components of physical fitness: the health-related and the skill-related. I want you to know that. I want you to know which one goes where. Flexibility, health-related. Power, skill-related. okay? Everybody needs health-related fitness components. Whether you are an athlete or a weekend warrior or my grandma, everybody needs the health-related components of physical fitness when they exercise, okay? Physical fitness has to do with exercise. Who needs the skill-related? Well, before we answer that, again, I want to make sure you understand that health-related is the basis. Skill-related come on top of that. You can't have skill-related if you don't have health-related. So once you have health-related, okay, and then let's say you're training Tom Brady or LeBron James, then you need the skill-related. Again, on top of the health-related. Not everybody needs the skill-related. I don't know if tomorrow you're training as a PT, as a personal trainer, or any kind of coach, if you have a lot of, if you're a coach, it's different, but as a personal trainer, most of your clients, right, it's more probable that they are in a group that they need the health related and the health related only. Not everybody needs the skill related. Now, an important thing here, and we've covered that before, is intensity. How do we measure intensity? We talked about intensity. One way is heart rate, right? VO2 max. Remember all these things? Also heart rate reserve, also VO2R. So there are many ways to do it. Another way to do it is METs, metabolic equivalent of task. I hope you remember that, right? So here, what is metabolic equivalent of task? Is pretty much, let's say one MET is the energy you need, right, for just as you're sitting there and watching at rest. Now, if something, an activity requires 5 METs, it means it requires 5 times the energy of you sitting there and watching my video. Okay? It's measured in milliliters per kilo per minute. Milliliters of oxygen, how much oxygen you need per kilo per minute. Okay? And 1 MET is 3.5. So again, if an activity requires 5 METs, that means that it requires 5 times the energy of the energy that it requires if you're just sitting at rest. Okay? Now you see 3 columns, and I want you to remember, you see some numbers. And this is the classification of METs. Okay? And then that's how we categorize them. So you see all the way to the left, something that is a light intensity. You need to know how many METs is light intensity. You also need to know how many METs is moderate intensity, and from what point and above is considered high intensity based on METs. Okay? So, for example, here, let me go a little bit closer. Jogging at 5 miles per hour is considered vigorous intensity, high intensity. Why? Because it's 6 or above METs. Right now, fishing on the left column, it's 2.5 METs. 2.5 METs is below 3 METs. Okay, so if it's below 3 METs, that's light intensity. What I want you to be careful here is that below 3 is light, 6 or above. So 6 is high intensity, vigorous intensity. Okay, 6 or above. When we talk about light intensity, it's not 3 or below, it's below 3. 3 all the way up to 5.9 is moderate intensity. Okay? All right. Now, let's talk about the recommendations. We had a lot of recommendations, and we had a specific chapter that we talked about when you were in PED214. All right? So CSM came together with CDC, NIH, US Surgeon General, and out of all these publications that came out of those collaborations, roundtables, is that, first of all, they made some comments concerning the amount, how much, and the intensity of physical activity that we need. Improve health, lower susceptibility to disease, that's more morbidity, and decrease premature mortality. Again, we've covered the difference between morbidity, which is susceptibility to disease, mortality, which is pretty much to die. Okay, morbidity is not the same as mortality. Premature morbidity is when you die, let's say men should die at 75. If somebody dies before 75, that's premature mortality. So here, they made statements about the amount and the intensity of PA to decrease people dying before 75. All right? And then we have the dose-response relationship. We talked about that. We're going to talk about it before. We talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. And in this class, a lot of times, we're going to mention the dose-response relationship that says what? Some PA is better than none. That's one part. And more, up to a point, is better than less. So some is better than none, more up to a point, and that's very crucial, of course, the point depends on the individual. More up to a point is better than less. That's the dose-response relationship. So pretty much the more you do, the more benefits you get, okay? Here, we have the recommendations of ACSM and American Heart Association. That's something that you should know, okay? You see that we talk about healthy or apparently healthy individuals, 18 to 65. We talk about moderate intensity, 30 minutes, 5 times per week. And then vigorous intensity goes 3 days per week, 20 minutes. So that has to do with cardiorespiratory fitness, right? Cardio, how much cardio? You should know that, or combinations of those two. Okay? Now, in general, we talk about bouts of 10 minutes or above. Although for some individuals that were just completely inactive, even less than 10 minutes can be beneficial in the beginning. But in general, 10 minutes or above. So they don't have to do, that's important, they don't have to do all the 30 minutes at once. We used to believe that. As we also used to believe that vigorous intensity is the only thing, but it's not, okay? So 10 minutes or above. If we add on, like, except for cardio, let's talk about strength exercises. So here we have, we should perform strength and endurance, muscular exercises, strength and endurance, for 2 days per week or more, right? At least 2 days per week. And then you see, based on the dose-response relationship, that we said that the more you do, the more benefits you get, or the more you lower the risk for cardio, for any kind of all-cause mortality. Then for some individuals that they need more, they should do more. Again, this is the minimum requirements. Let me close that thing that beeps for a second. There we go. And there we go. All right. Go back to this. And then go back to this. Awesome. Okay. We're done with that. I want you to know that those are the minimum requirements. That's very, very important. Because somebody can ask you, I want to start working out. What should I do? 30 minutes is moderate, 5 times per week. And then 70 minutes of vigorous intensity of combination. Both plus 2 times per week, you should do some kind of muscular endurance strength exercise. That's it. All right, now we have other committees that have come out with guidelines and recommendations. So here we have the Physical Activity Guidelines Advisory Committee report. So this one talks about the benefits of moderate intensity for most days of per week. Again, we didn't really appreciate moderate intensity up to a point. But now it looks like, we have enough information to know that moderate amount of PA is very beneficial. Now we have additional benefits if we do more. Okay, so moderate amount, most days, if not all, is beneficial. If we do more, most likely is more beneficial. That's what they came up with. These are the guidelines, pretty much very similar to the ones, especially the first dot to the one that we just talked about. It just says that if you want more, you should do more. You see up to 30 minutes per week. Okay? Excuse me, that's pretty much it from that. All right. Epidemiological studies, large scale. So in this one, there's a meta-analysis. Meta-analysis, is one we're combining a lot of published research together, and then we see the combined effect of whatever they did all together. So we put them all together and we come with, that's a very simplistic way to say it, we come with a conclusion based on a lot of research when we are combining them together. So here, when we combine all of them together, the sample size, the individuals that were participated was 1.3 million. That's a lot, right? And it showed that, as you see, a dose-response relationship between physical activity or cardiorespiratory fitness and the risk of coronary artery disease, CAD, and cardiovascular disease, CVD. So here, pretty much what we see is that the more, as you see the percentage, the more we move towards 100%. So the more we do, the lower the risk on the other axis that you see, the relative risk, it drops. So this again shows with the huge sample size of 1.3 million people, right? That there's a strong evidence that the more you do, the less the risk of an event. Here you see all the evidence that we have. Sometimes it's strong, sometimes not that strong, or inefficient, insufficient, about the relationship between PA and health outcomes. And you see there's the all-cause mortality. Let me go closer. Cardiorespiratory health, metabolic health, energy balance, musculoskeletal health, and then we go all the way down to functional colon and breast cancers, and mental health and well-being. Okay, and then the second column talks about the evidence that we have that there's an inverse relationship. Inverse, what does it mean? So the more you have from one, the less you have from the others. So the more physical activity, less all-cause mortality, right? So in that one, yes, there is evidence. And how strong is it? It's very strong. That's how you read this table. One comment. At the end, we say, for example, insufficient data when it comes to well-being. It doesn't mean there's no relationship. It means we don't know enough to make a solid statement, a bold statement about it, okay? Now, here we're talking about a pandemic. We all know this term lately. This one is a real pandemic that has to do with physical inactivity. And here we have huge numbers, as you can see that globally, 1 out of 3 people is physically inactive. How do we know that? We compare what they do with the recommendations that we just talked about. In the US, as you see, 20% meet the guidelines. So 4 out of 5, way more than when we compare it to globally, right? So in the US, 4 out of 5, they don't meet the guidelines. And when you break it down, most people do the cardio part, as you see, 1 out of 2, but we go down to 30% when we talk about the muscle strengthening guidelines. In total, when you put them together, 1 out of 5 is physically active. 1 out of 5, okay? So it's not very good. All right, why do we care? So sedentary behavior has been associated with a lot of diseases, right? And premature mortality, all-cause mortality. One other thing that we mentioned, though, is that when you have a job like mine, that you sit down pretty much most of the day, right? Even if you are physically active, you may lose those benefits because the rest of the day you're physically inactive and you just sit on a chair in front of a computer like me. Of course, it's worse if you're not physically active and you have a sedentary lifestyle. But what I'm trying to say here is that if you are physically active for an hour per day and the rest of the day you lead a sedentary lifestyle, you may lose all these benefits. So you may need even more. Okay, that's the interesting part. Okay, so here we have more benefits that have to do with regular physical activity and exercise. You see all the inverse relationship with all this diseases and conditions. I'm not going to go over all of them, of course, but you can see that there are improvements in pretty much everything, all the way down to stress. Okay, you see when we talk about, for example, morbidity and mortality, we talk about primary and secondary prevention. So when we talk about the primary, we talk about preventing the first event. Secondary is you have a first event and we're trying to prevent the second event. Okay, that's something important I want you to remember. Go over the tables. If you have any questions, let me know. If you don't know terminology, Google, figure out, make side notes on your book. If it's a hard copy, you need to familiarize yourself with the terminology. And the more you do that, the more you're going to remember as we go. Again, don't freak out. We all started from zero. Okay, just put in the work, and I promise you'll be fine. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about health benefits in muscular fitness. So again, well established, and you see that high levels of muscular strength are associated with a significant better cardiometabolic risk factor profile, and all of this, all the way down to low risk of developing physical function limitations and low risk for non-fatal disease. And when we talk about non-fatal disease, that's an important part. And I want you to know, like, you have low back pain, neck pain, depression, diabetes. There's some things that they are grouped as non-fatal diseases, and you get benefits even by lowering the risk for those if you are muscularly strong. Okay. Now, do we have any risks? Of course, there are risks associated with physical activity. There are, and you see the most common is MSI, which is musculoskeletal injury. Okay, common talks about frequency, right? Common talks about frequency, but when we talk about severity, which is second dash, you see that sudden cardiac death and acute myocardial infarction. Hope you know what acute myocardial infarction is. We talked about it 212. Heart attack, right? Pretty much in a simplistic way. Of course, those have may lead, as you see, to long-term morbidity and mortality. So they're not that frequent, but they can be more severe, which I hope that makes sense. Now, SCD, how common is it in young individuals? Very uncommon. 1 per 769,000 women. Very uncommon, as you understand. And here, from that table, which is a big table to read, and I don't want to read it, but you can see that even those cases that we have, they are they're happening mainly because students were born, or athletes were born with it, or inherited something. And all this, as you can see, hypertrophy, the coronary anomalies, what else? The aortic stenosis. All these are things that they have inherited. They were born with it. So that's why they're happening. Okay, so if we could figure that out, we wouldn't even have the majority of those events. Now, in adults, do we have any? Sure. Yeah, again, there is some risk, okay? And you can see risk is related to the absence or presence of occult CVD. Occult CVD is when there's some kind of symptom, but we cannot find a cardiovascular kind of reasoning behind it. So it's an obscure, like weird kind of case. And that's when we talk about occult CVD. And the onset study is very well known. In what it proved is, as you will see, that it has to do with vigorous exercise intensity and how common it is to have an event of AMI, okay, acute myocardial infarction. And you can see that if you were sedentary before, of course, that increases the risk up to 50 times higher. So if you see it here, all the way to the right, you see that people who work out 5 times or more, and then work out and when we talk about workout, we're talking about working out with vigorous intensity, PA, those have a relative risk of 2, right? Now, if you go all the way to the left, the people who were not doing any vigorous intensity, and then all of a sudden they do, they can go up all the way to 100. That's why we're saying 50 times more, or 50 times higher risk of AMI if you do vigorous intensity. It really depends if you are accustomed to that or not. That's what we're trying to show with this graph. Exercise testing. A lot of times we're doing tests that have to do with exercise, and we have to know if there's a risk of a cardiac event during those kind of tests. Again, the higher the intensity, the higher the risk, which you have already established, and I hope it makes sense. It's pretty low, as you can see, 6 cardiac events per 10,000 tests. That's very, very low. Yeah, that's what it shows, this table. You can see also all the way to the right, at the bottom on the right, that some of them happen in a facility that they were not supervised by MDs, and that plays a role in these kind of situations. Now, cardiac rehabilitation. That's another part. How many cardiac events do we have during cardiac rehabilitation? Now that this is the secondary prevention. Remember, they had an event, and now we're trying to avoid a second event. Again, very, very low. Very, very low. As you can see, though, the mortality rate appears to be 6 times higher when patients exercise in facilities without the ability to successfully manage cardiac arrest. So again, the personnel and the infrastructure of the facility plays a role if something happens during cardiac rehabilitation. And that's what we see here again. Very, very low. You can see the major complications all the way to the right column. A very, very low percentage. How can we prevent? Okay. How we can prevent? Nobody wants to have any exercise-related events while they're supervising somebody or training somebody. So we should know, as you can see, the pathological conditions associated with those events. So we can evaluate them before or during. Now, the individual should know, as you can see, the nature of cardiac prodromal symptoms. A prodromal symptom is pretty much a pre-symptom. But by itself, it wouldn't lead to diagnosis of anything, but it makes you start thinking if you have a condition, okay? So individuals should know that, and we should know the conditions associated with those events. So we're both prepared. Of course, we should support pre-participation screening by qualified professionals, you can see, in high school and collegiate athletes. Makes sense. It doesn't happen all the time, but I hope it makes sense. And of course, if you had an event or have family history, you should be evaluated before. Staff is trained, okay, how to manage cardiac emergencies. Cool, nothing important here. All right, and that's it. So, guys, again, welcome to PED214. I hope you're excited for this semester. Again, Sundays, everything is due on Sundays. You should expect videos from me on Mondays around this time. In office hours tomorrow. First synchronous meeting on Wednesday. And what is it due on Sunday? ECLO and LO. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow or Wednesday, or worst case scenario, send you another video next Monday. In the meantime, lift intentionally, not habitually. Bye, guys.